from Thane, where there's a fear of violence and a breakdown of law and order. Remember that Thane is a stronghold of Eknath Shinde. Prohibitory orders have been put in place now, which will be valid till June 30th. So as part of these orders, carrying any sort of arms, this means sticks, burning posters, burning effigies, carrying any kind of arms will be completely banned. No slogans, songs are allowed, nothing that can lead to a political rift or any political differences. The order also goes on to state that all officials have in fact been intimated that there's a prohibition order in place till June 30th. So this is the big news break that's coming in. Remember that Thane is a stronghold of Eknath Shinde. There have been a lot of reports of how shivseniks in Thane have been very split and very divided over Eknath Shinde's rebellion, and that is leading to some tension on the ground. Dev Kotak is joining us with more details on this. Dev, in Thane, which is Eknath Shinde's area, it's his stronghold, we understand that a number of steps have been taken to ensure no violence breaks out. As far as shivseniks in Thane are concerned, we hear that there are a lot of contradictory opinions on Shinde's decision to rebel against Uddhav Thackeray.
Yes, like I mentioned previously also that there was a brewing distrust within the party, and this is something the State Chief Minister Mr. Uddhav Thackeray had failed to address at all points in time, giving more priority to the Congress and the NCP, which are its coalition partners, rather than tending to the demands and hearing out the grievances of his own party MLAs, which is why in the first place they have rebelled and gone on to challenge the Uddhav Thackeray government, also wanting to form a separate government of their own. The main reason that they cited was that our own Chief Minister is not available to us only. So this is the main reason why these people have gone were earlier in an incognito mode when they had reached Surat, and then of course by the time they reached Assam in Guwahati, at the Radisson Blu Hotel, all of them were in clear communication with the other people in Shiv Sena here in Bombay, not from the rebel faction, of course. So these are the kind of arguments that are being mentioned. However, Samna, the editorial mouthpiece, does not mention or talk about these kind of problems. They merely only blame BJP, and in connection to this, Thane district, which happens to be Eknath Shinde's stronghold, their prohibitory orders have been put in place, where carrying sticks, stones or any kind of swords or sharp weapons has been disallowed. No singing of songs or sloganeering either can take place, because the police have also been put on high alert, fearing that there might be violence from fellow shivseniks who will come out in full force to show their support for Mr. Uddhav Thackeray and his son Aditya Thackeray, who was also a state minister from the Shiv Sena. Of course, one very important thing that we need to keep in mind at all points in time is that while Thane happens to be the stronghold, in case if at all any kind of violence takes place in that area, then President's rule will come into effect and will be in full force. So in order to avoid the President's rule, which will take away the slightest of possible chance or any kind of little bit possibility for the government to retain power, that will also be gone. So which is that is why it is extremely important and significant at this point in time to control the shivseniks who might possibly even think of wanting to engage in any kind of violence, because like I mentioned, if President's rule come, whatever little chance they have of getting back in power and continuing to hold exert their hold in the state in terms of a ruling government, that will also be gone. So that is why as long as it's peaceful and the police do not have an objection to that, it is fine. But engaging in any kind of violent means or activities that may go on to challenge the prohibitory order in itself might pose a problem for the Shiv Sena. Not like it is not already in the middle of a crisis, but it will only add to their existing woes.
Okay, Dev, stay on with me. I also want to bring in Ashutosh Mishra on this broadcast. He's reporting live from Mumbai as well. Ashutosh, while we're reporting on what's happening in Thane, I want to bring our focus back to the political developments expected in Mumbai today. Uddhav Thackeray, of course, has been resorting to one emotional appeal after another. But the reality is he doesn't have the numbers. He's perhaps hoping on some sort of, legal relief. He will consider the Deputy Speaker taking that step of considering his disqualification petition as a victory at a time when he's been facing one setback after another.
And that's exactly, you see the change in strategy, Akshita. Remember what had happened 48 hours ago? There was totally, a depressive sentiment amongst the Shivsena, and they were totally on back foot. Clearly, they perhaps realized that what could be the next. Of course, the government was about to fall. But certain things change in 48 hours. Yesterday, if you heard Ajit Pawar in the press conference categorically saying there is no threat to government because it is the Mahavikas Aghadi government in existence, because no one at the moment has declared their rebel, no one has withdrawn the support from the government, and even Eknath Shinde with those MLAs, they haven't resigned yet, hence the number on the floor that remains with the. So clearly that seems to be the part of strategy, because suddenly it was decided that was the letter of the resolution passed by Shinde during the meeting, because it was sort of the required number. Now that has been made a ground by the existing Shiv Sena under the Uddhav Thackeray, and they approached to the Deputy Speaker seeking suspension of these 16 MLA. So clearly this all strategy worked, and all it seems to be the footprint of the idea suggested by Sharad Pawar, who stepped in day before yesterday. And ever since all these meetings happened, there was also anticipation that perhaps Shiv Sena under the pressure could move out of MVA, the alliance. Sanjay Raut even hinted, but then of course it was only the optics calling the MLAs that look, if you want Shiv Sena to exit of the alliance, come here, meet Uddhav Thackeray and have your point with your party supremo. But clearly that was part of the optics, and besides they were all buying time, and exactly the strategy is now coming out that what had happened, how they all sat together, and now the way we are seeing the Congress and NCP one after one coming out declaring their open support to Uddhav Thackeray and Shiv Sena. So at the moment what we see, the MVA is not only intact, but suddenly from the back foot they have come to the front foot, and from the defensive they have suddenly become offensive. All these strategies that you're saying, also the emotional appeal by Uddhav Thackeray. Remember, the Shiv Sena is not as traditional party as BJP, Congress or several other. A cadre-based party which runs on the emotion. It always believed in the thought process of Bala Saheb Thackeray, the party.
Very